and in spirit well of worship fellowship. Today is Thursday, the 13th of March 2025. We're in East Africa and it's currently 10 minutes past 6. And every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. we do what we call a weekly catch-up. Weekly catch-up used to be top stories of the week, but we have since remodeled it into a topical discussion. It could be typically social topic, economic, socio-economic, a little politics, but yeah. So that's what we discuss every Thursday. And if you're interested in that, please come and join us. If you're listening to this on YouTube, the link should be displayed somewhere. It's always the same link, it doesn't change. We're here every Monday and every Thursday. Mondays for questions and answers. Today we have quite an interesting topic. I got it from an article that was shared by one of our own, Tom, who's not here. But yeah, it kind of triggered my mind. She entitled the article "The Silent Economic Crisis: How Uganda's Social Attitudes Are Costing Us More Than Foreign Debt." Okay, obviously Uganda is classified as a third world country by the global economists. We are highly indebted to these countries again, the Western countries. Every year our budget we can probably only fund at most 40%. So every year our begging bowl is out to the US, the UK, and all these countries. So, and obviously we always seem to think of it in that way. But the lady in the article seems to raise an issue about our own ways, which are probably contributing to this situation. She argues that we blame corruption and political inefficiencies and external debt, but there may be another silent killer of our economy, which has called our social cultural outlook to things. One of the things she talks about is how much time we spend going for burial ceremonies, marriage ceremonies, of course, and other social functions. She feels like we take a lot of time in those, and she did not give any figures about how much money we lose, but she clearly means if you're not at work, then you're not really making money. So time we spend at burials, weddings, parties, and so on and so forth. Many of them go on too late in the night. Okay. In some countries, actually, they typically bury over the weekend. I think Kenya is one of those. Of course, they don't bury immediately like we do here in Uganda. They can even bury after mass, but typically it's either Friday or the weekend. Okay. Yeah. So is that really an economic loss, or when you're building these social ties, then we build the economy in one way or another when we're there for each other? That's what we're here to discuss. Of course, the other issue is how we are quick to contribute to, again, social causes. I bury you here, I bury you there, marriage here, marriage there. If Isaiah wanted to get married, we would all pull our resources together and make sure he gets married. But if the same Isaiah came back to us and said he wants to start a business, would be, we'll not be so quick to pull out our wallets. Why is that? Again, this has reminded me of something I read this morning about tithe. Of course, the pastors are not going to be happy about this, but it was on Twitter. Someone was saying, imagine if we tithe into our community. Okay, imagine as we live in our communities, all of us brought 10% to the welfare of the community where we live. Would have schools, would have good hospitals, would have water sources and things like that. Yeah, of course, he was in a way dissing Ugandans for being so gullible and all that. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I want us to discuss today. Is it actually, first of all, is it even true that the threats to Uganda's economy are mainly internal, not external? If that is the case, how or why? Is it wrong to be there for each other socially like we do here in this part of Africa? When somebody, unlike the interesting thing is weddings. Typically, we have invitation lists, we have table numbers. We have guest lists. We don't want people to come for the weddings, but when there's a death, people don't get an invitation, but they still show up. in that same spirit of Ubuntu, as we used to call it. So is that really a bad thing? As this lady, I finally got her name, she's called Gertrude Kamya or Tieno. Is it a bad thing? When we have meetings, they rarely start on time. We have something we call African time. When somebody says, "Oh, I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m." or at 9 a.m., for example, the second question is always that African time or European time. Basically, meaning Ugandans never keep time, or Africans in general. Is that a bad thing? Should we always be on the rush to go into the next task or the next meeting or whatever it is? Is it bad to be laid back like we are as Africans? So that's what I want to discuss today. I don't have the figures for the economic impact of all this. Maybe Peterson will help us as we go along. But yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Peterson, let me start with you, our resident economist and historian. First of all, is it really true, in your opinion, that we have a hidden economic crisis in this country, stemming from how we do our things? In the Western world, everything moves on time. The train is on time, the plane, work is paid in hours, and things like that. Here, our time is elastic. A task of 1 hour can take 6 hours. Because why? Why the hurry? We're in Africa. We've actually had the statement, there's no hurry in Africa. So is that necessarily a bad thing? And the reason I ask that is because when you look at these Western societies and how they treat time, they have lost out in the social aspect. They don't see family, they don't see their children, they're just busy making money because time is the most important thing. So is that where we want to be? So that then our economy is considered progressive? Peterson, are you there? Well, I'm talking to myself.
Yes, I'm here.
What do you think?
First of all, in my comment, the first time I read the article, but my comment is yes, she has stated something hypothetically, which needs to be studied, and of course it's very difficult right now to make an inference and say that social, she called it what, social what, have an impact on the economy. It's really very difficult, though. I think if a study is done, then probably it should be something that we should be looking at very critically. I'll give an example. The IG, Bet Kamya, there's a time when she was presenting a report, and she said that 21 trillion, if I'm not mistaken.
Betson, we are recording this, so you have to be very, very illustrative. IG, Betkamia, which country, what does IG mean, etc.
Inspectorate of Government. She presented a report and said that we lose, is it 21 or 15 trillion? I'm confusing the figures in corruption. But on the face value, it was, I think, a headline on New Vision. She said we lose 15 trillion in what? In corruption. Now, on the face value, when you see that money, you can see a lot of money, and people who just discuss headlines, they start calculating. You see, this 15 trillion would have built a road, would have built a hospital. Now, when you go to the real story and look at the figures, out of that money, I remember it was like almost 70% of that money. It was going into environmental degradation. I don't know how they calculated it, but these people who cut trees, who drain swamps, who do what, that money was being lost there. Then there's also time, people who are paid in government, but then they don't come to work. Now, the actual money that was actually being stolen, these things that you see, people are being arrested by them, by what? it was a very, very small percentage. I don't think it was even reaching 10% of that money. So when we talk about the actual tangible money, the cash that is actually being lost, it was like 10% of that. Now, when we talk about like what this professor of London School of Economics has written and says that no, this thing has a very big impact, then we come back to the real monetary value. What effect is it having on the economy? So I brought the other story of Bet Kamya and I related it to this. So we can say, yes, people not being on their desks, attending a church wedding or attending a funeral or going for lunch. Sometimes people go for lunch for 1 hour, has a very big impact on the economy. But the substance, the real impact, the money value may not be that significant if a study is going to be made. And if the study is made, then now we can start making proper discussions on the matter. But the question is...
So I guess the argument is, okay, I guess the argument is on time. Where you spend your time, is it productively?
Now that's where I was going to come from. Now, you see the 2 hours that we spent here discussing, they do not have any monetary value in real sense. That some people like Tom who even put down their tools and they listen to this. But such discussions have a very, very big impact on our psychology and on our social life, on our general well-being, considering the discussion that we had last week on Thursday. But how can you monetize that? Now, Tom has put down his tools to complete a customer's job. He's attending such a Zoom fellowship. And that has a hidden benefit, which I can say well-being, or maybe well-being. But on the customer, maybe he's losing time. Now, what the lady is trying to say is that at home, you have to work from 8 up to midnight. You just go home, take a rest, shower, eat something, come back to work at 6 and make money. So if life is all about making money and we're like machines, then that is okay. But if you take off time, go and socialize, go and do a catch-up, go and attend a funeral, because you see all these things here, we're looking at them, they're not just normal, they're not just functions, just for, we are social beings, we need such things. Remember what we always say, that you can find that you have your friend like Isaiah. You spend the whole year without meeting Isaiah. You only call and WhatsApp. The only time you have to meet Isaiah is when you are attending maybe Peter's wedding. So, and you don't want to value that time. You considering it a waste of time. So I think the issue about capitalism really is that considering that each and everything is all about making money. But we have this other side of the social part, which cannot be quantified, but which is very important in our well-being and in our life. I can first stop there.
Yeah, thank you, Peterson. Yeah, actually, in my intro, I hinted on it. You know, capitalism has convinced us, and I'm sure you guys have heard that story before. But basically, capitalism has convinced us that basically make money, accumulate money, then you'll have time to do the things you want to do. You know, but we know that that's a lie. You can never have enough money where you sit back and put your legs up and say, aha. So Peterson is actually making an interesting point that you see in the Western societies where suicides are on a high, mental health is now a big thing. It's because of this thing they call work. They are all running mad, running around like chickens, trying to make money, and somehow they don't have time for the social. So for us, we have an advantage that we have a social aspect to our lives. Peter, you switched on your microphone. Do you want to go next? Peter?
I'm in a noisy place. but I'll be talking in 5 minutes.
Okay. Let me cross over to Isaiah. Isaiah, should
Yeah.
life be measured in terms of time, really? Like capitalism wants to convince us. Because this lady is looking at time as the measure of growth, of economy, and things like that. Is it a fair unit of measure, time? Because it's limited, as you know, except if you have eternal life.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and praise God. I believe in God. And
Amen.
yeah, sure. I think I don't know where to start from, but let me angle it from this perspective. If you're a Christian like me, and you are abusing time, that is some sort of occultism. It is some sort of paganism.
That's a strong word.
It is blasphemy and blasphemous, and it is idol worship.
You're mad.
Yes, yes. I
Very
wanted.
strong words.
Yes, because I want us to understand the magnitude of what we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, time is very important, to the extent that even us who believe God, one of, if it is not actually the only reason as to why we believe this God, we believe him because of the promise of time.
Eternal life.
Yeah, exactly. Eternal life. We don't
So
believe
life is
God.
measured in time.
Yes, yes. We don't just believe God for life. We believe him for a life attached to a particular kind of time, and that is eternity. So I would like to warn Christians and whoever would wish to listen that if you're a Christian, and if you're not a Christian, but you are a sober and a sensible human being, you must be careful with time. You just have to be careful with time. Time is very crucial. Very, very. In fact, we are here because of time, and we are here in time, and we are here for a time. So this is how serious the matter of time is. And we must try as much as we can not to abuse time. Not to abuse time. Now, how do we abuse time? The greatest abuse to time is not in timekeeping. It's not in timekeeping. It's not even in time management. That's not where the greatest abuse of time is. The greatest abuse of time is in time usage. It is in time usage. Now,
How you use the time.
how you use the time and what you use the time for.
Okay.
Yes. So because you see, this whole thing of the African time, they always talk about timekeeping. You didn't come on time, you didn't come in time. That's what they're normally discussing. But in a little bit advanced way of looking at the aspect of time, and please follow. I am not digressing. I'm still on what we are talking about. Just follow. We have to understand that what matters is what we use our time for, and how we use that time, therefore, the time that we have. If you are a capitalist and you have a capitalistic understanding and approach to time, you must apply 17 out of the 24 hours that you have in a day to profit making, to things that are going to profit you economically. Now, I am sorry, but this is what I have to tell you. That is also an abuse of time.
Of time?
Yes.
I thought we were using it very productively, you know?
No, it is
Producing, yes.
Yes, it is an abuse of time, because here's the whole thing. We are discussing human beings. We are not talking any other being. We are discussing human beings. You see? Let me give you an example. Where I come from, we rear cattle. And one of the things that I have observed from these animals is that every day in the morning, they wake up, go and look for grass, come back home, sleep. Some are milked, those who have made calves or babies, sleep, wake up the next day and go and do that. Grow old or get sick and die. This that's what I observed with cattle. Okay. Whoever tells you to use your time biased to the capitalistic worldview is training you to become another cattle and another cow. And they're just training you to
Hello?
abuse.
Hello? Msumba, come again. Come again. Please rewind a little. You through your analogy, through the cattle analogy, please.
Where I come from, we rear cattle, and what a cow does throughout its life: wake up every morning, go and look for grass, grow fat and fertile, make calves or make other cows, sleep. It is eat, sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, reproduce, repeat. Eat, sleep, reproduce, repeat. So the cycle continues. Now those are cows. So it is eat, sleep, reproduce, die, repeat. Eat, sleep, reproduce, die, repeat. That's the world of cows. So whoever is
and
teaching,
give us manure. I forgot manure.
okay, reproduce, production. So,
Children and manure. Continue.
yes. So whoever is teaching you to use time like cows use time, okay, is transitioning you from humanity to animal.
To cowhood.
Or to cowhood. Okay. So you have to understand this ideology, ladies and gentlemen, that capitalism is outrageous because it is transitioning us from being us to becoming money-making machines who have lost their human and their humanness. And now you are abusing time by spending, okay, 16 of the 24 on money, okay? Now, 24 minus 16, that's how many? My mathematics is
8.
always good. It is 8.
8.
And then spending the remaining 8 hours in sleep or on social media. Now that is the curve in the human body. That is the curve. And that is an abuse of time. You cannot allocate all the time, almost all the time, to only one thing, making money. And we have examples of where that has happened. It has happened in European countries. It has happened in the United States. Okay, it has happened in those countries, and where it has happened in that manner, all right, they have lost themselves. Families are dysfunctional. Marriages cannot work anymore. Children are not parented anymore. Their social fabric has been broken, and now they are conducting what I normally call the poultry farm, where people are in those flats and those skyscrapers, and they are on TV, on cable TV, on the internet, on social media, and then the government that utilizes that has turned human beings into animals is feeding social welfare, social service, is feeding those on TV, those on social media, giving them a welfare check every month, and they have stores of those that capitalism has grinded and digested, because capitalism actually grinds you and exhausts you until there's nothing remaining in you. And then they send you into the elder retirement home. So eventually you have healthy streets, beautiful buildings, very healthy buildings, healthy bricks essentially, and healthy sand, okay? And sick and suffering bodies of human beings in that country. Why? Because they abuse time. They did not use time the right way. You must break down. Now, this is development. This is development. We are talking about economy. A healthy economy is an economy where people have divided their time into their actual needs. You need bread. There's time for making bread. You need your family. Then there are hours for your family. You need your friends. There are hours for your friends. You need your faith. There are hours for your faith. That is development. That is growth. There's a difference between human or socio-anthropological growth, economic growth, and materialistic growth. So what capitalism is doing is abusing. Capitalism is an abuse of time, and therefore pagan, occultic, blasphemous, and idol worship. Thank you, moderator.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, in the second hour, we shall attempt to define how we can use our time productively. We shall not stop at lamenting, but we shall try and come up with a counterculture of how we can spend our time, especially serving the needs of a human being, which are not just financial, for survival. Peter, can you talk now? Or you're still on the move?
I think I can talk. I'm in a restaurant here.
Yeah, sure. What are your thoughts? Did you read the article?
Sorry, I saw the article. I did not read the article, but probably my addition to time, maybe Pastor White would add, maybe would come back and illustrate. But my point was, as far as time is concerned, is that our concept of time, our social culture concept of time here is quite different from that of our brothers and sisters in the West. In the West, time is an abstract. time is what the watch says. It is what the clock says. According to them, time is counted. Time is in seconds, in minutes, in hours, in days, and in weeks. To the contrary, or somewhat to the contrary, time here is understood in terms of events, stroke activity, and season. Season. Well, for example, I picked that from the language we use here. Here in Africa, or here for example, in the Uganda, according to the Uganda people, they have something like how did you sleep? How have you spent the day? In fact, it is how did you sleep and how did you spend the day? Wasuzotia and Osiviotia. They have nothing like it is 10 o'clock. They have nothing like it is 1 o'clock. So for them, they have activity and season, or activity and period. So for them, whenever you say keep time and you're telling a Uganda person, you're not communicating seconds and minutes. You're instead communicating, please ensure that this such an activity is done in its rightful season. So probably that kind of vocabulary, which is reflective of our ideology of time, could have an influence or an impact on our productivity. That is one. Two, the geography or the natural environment in which we live does not guarantee or does not make us act like our brothers and sisters in the West. Okay? We who have got 2 rain seasons a year and 2 dry seasons a year, and you look at that, seasons, where we have equal amount of sunshine and equal amount of rain, where you eat a pumpkin and throw pumpkin seeds around the latrine, and the next 3 months you're having another pumpkin to eat. That does not prompt us to understand and utilize time in a manner after our brothers and sisters in the West. That's what I can say at the moment.
Thank you, Peter. Benson. Okay, now let me first go to Tom. Tom, are you there? Before I go to Benson. Isaiah talked about using time, not just the spending time, but also doing the right thing. Okay, Tom, are you there? Okay, if you're not there, let me go to Benson. So, why would you go for a burial during working time, for example? Why would you go to see your friends during working hours? What you call working hours, you can put quote unquote, which is the 8 to 5. In as much as it adds the social aspect, like you said, it has a social value, but is it the right thing to do in that time? I think that's also the gist of the article. Is it Rutembana there, or I'm talking to myself?
Yes. Now,
so why would you go to bury during working time, for example?
Now, me, I'm
to visit a sick person in hospital.
That question, I'll answer it in this way. When you're studying management, there's what they call an agent-principal relationship. And these ones are always in conflict. I think you guys have ever come across it. So in this case, for example, the agent can be like an employee on Pakasi, and the principal will be the employer. Now, all these two parties, everyone is looking for a way of maximizing or cheating the other. And when we talk about 8 to 5, it is time that was set, or that is set by a principal. And because we are here chasing for jobs, when they tell you that yes, you've been given a job, but you're going to be working 8 to 5. No one objects, because if you object, they will take another candidate who will be willing to work at that time. Now, usually, because the principals want to maximize our labor force, no one wants to give you no one wants to give you time to go and visit whoever you want to visit. In fact, actually, these things to do with leave, things to do with maternity leave, all these things are new. People had to fight for them, but you had to work, and there's no time for breaking and all that. So because you are enslaved to our work, we always try to create that time for some of these social things. And you've given an example. If, let's say, you're to meet your friend and the only available time is 10 a.m., your boss is expected to allow you to go and meet your friend, and then you come and complete the work. After all, it's not all about the time that you spend on your desk, it's about the output that you produce. So in that regard, the question that you're asking, why should you do this during working time? Because that is when the activity has come. So you can do that activity, whether meeting a friend or attending a function during the work. Then you come and complete your work. After all, the work will still be there. Me, I really don't believe in that rigidness at the workplace, that you cannot allow even new people to go and attend to some of these things. That is what is actually very, very wrong, and even sometimes even affects that productivity. So if a person has something to do within that time, all you need is output. Make sure that that person can go and attend to whatever he wants to attend, then he comes and delivers on his tasks. Me, that's what I can argue.
But Benson, before I let you go, sinners are very creative, like you said. The bosses are trying to squeeze as much out of the employees, but also the employees are trying to also see where the boundary is. The problem with allowing sinners to work like that is they'll keep pushing the boundary. You allow someone to go see their friend at 10, which is working time, as you call it, the corporate world. Next time they'll disappear for a whole day and say, "Oh, somebody fell sick, I had to go and help them, do this and that," things like that. Where's the limit? At least from the employers, even from your side as an employee, but even from the employer's side, where's the limit, really?
And you see,
because people will keep taking and taking and taking.
You see, when we talk about time, these schedules that we are talking about, they were fixed by one party, and the other party had to come along and play along. But if people can agree, for example, if they give you a job and these are your outputs, this is what you're expected to do, then you agree on the schedule. Maybe a story will be different, but here people are given work, they're also given schedules. So you have to make sure that you modify yourself to fit within the existing schedule. And sometimes it's actually very, very, it may be difficult for some people to fit within that. That is why people start coming up with creative ways of how, or they start coming up with creative ways of getting excuses and getting to do their other things. And also remember that issue of the principal has a higher bargaining power. So whatever he tells you, whatever he says, you have to abide, but in real sense, in your heart, you're not abiding. In fact, if you had an option or if you had the choice, you will not be confined like a slave. But because you have no choice, you have to what? To abide. So the employees who end up doing such things is because they have no way out but to start using that gap, and they exercise their rights, if I'm to say like that.
Okay, thank you, Pinson. Isaiah,
Yeah.
the reason why we expect people to be at work, I'm talking about work now, but if I expand it, it's because some of your inputs are rather your outputs at work are someone else's inputs into what they're supposed to do. You know how a machine works. From this, we go to this, we go to that and that. So if one part is missing, then the machine breaks down. That's why employers insist on people staying at work within a certain window or time of the day. So what is right or wrong with going for value on a Wednesday, for example, or on a Monday morning, going to Kaberamaido for value, for example? Is that good usage of time? Like
You see, has the company allocated Monday morning for burial?
no,
Or
it has not.
It has not.
No.
Then you can't bury in the time of work. My philosophy is usage and allocation for usage. What is
Says you can make up the hours later. You go and bury, then you come back and to make up for the hours you have missed.
Oh, from which time? Because
when others have gone home, I guess.
That is a lie. You can't make up time. You can't. Time. The nature of time is that it is not man-made, and therefore it cannot be man-recovered. It's not recoverable. This is something that we need to know, ladies and gentlemen, whether we like it or not. So you can't say that now that I didn't work during the day, I am going to put in the night shift. What about the business of the night?
Sleeping.
Then that is gone. You haven't slept. What does that mean? You need coffee for the next day, because sleep won't forget that you didn't sleep. So it has to disturb you the next day, and then you are not productive the next day. This is how thing works. The abuse of time is usage. We abuse time in usage. That's why we abuse time. I normally in my etiquettes, when someone raises their hand and there's someone on the floor, they want that spot. Does Ariong want to come in?
Ariong, your hand is up.
Yes, I'm sorry if I have scared the pastor of the floor.
It's okay. It's really okay. It's okay.
I am a human being. I am an employer. I work within space and time. Well, my experience is, I think not many people like to work. That's the reason employers put restrictions. Some of them even say, when you are coming to work, leave your phones somewhere, especially us who are in the hands-on business where you need production of items, where an employee is supposed to pack things, sort things. Most of us don't allow phones into the workplace. And the reason is, there are a lot of times when people are at their workstations, but they are actually doing nothing. They are not working, even when they are at their workstations. That's a very big challenge to employers. Even employers, business owners, and whatever, I don't see many of them loving to do what they are doing. There must be something pushing them to do that. So I want to believe that we are, as human beings, we are not very comfortable working. That is why there are restrictions. That is why there are rules. Now, about burial, if somebody has died, their burial can be postponed. They can be put in a funeral home. They can be put in a morgue, and they are buried on a weekend. They are buried when there is time. I don't see why the living should postpone activities that help them live a better life to bury when burial can be postponed. But of course, here we make a lot of excuses where we want to leave work and go and do some other activities. My own experience with workers is that none of them likes to work. Therefore, you must put rules and regulations to enable them give you the desired production. That's my own experience. About how when the moderator was introducing, I think the whites have a crisis. Africans, we don't have that much of a crisis, but eventually, because we are adapting to the white man's ways, we are creating a crisis here, where a child begins school at about 3 years, they live their lives, leaving home at 6 or 5, and coming back late. They do that for the whole cycle of their lives, productive lives, and they only retire to that when they can't be productive anymore. So meaning this child will have no time and chance to live their lives. They are always on the run. Thank you, moderator.
You should thank Isaiah, who you interrupted. Isaiah, have you been helped?
No, he was actually not helping me in any way. So the man just wanted to drive his point, and he has done as well.
He was using your time. Was it a productive use of your time?
Moderator, I heard you call me before you called Pedson, and when I
and you didn't show up. You didn't show up.
No, when I wanted to show up, Pedson had already started talking, so I thought I should tame myself really.
Yeah, of course. That's how we use our time on the forum. You
Okay,
wait for your turn. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Ariong, for that. Well, moderator, what we want to demonstrate to our listeners is that we must be religious with how we use time. That is all. And that does not mean that there won't be eventualities. Okay? If you wake up in the morning and you're going to work, and then they give you a call, or they call your workplace and tell you that your child has died. Now, that is a time of death. You cannot say, I am at work, because you are now abusing the time of socializing, the time of mourning. It is now a time of mourning. You can't mourn your dead. That is understandable. But for you to organize a burial within work time is an abuse of time. That's my argument. I normally want to pick up things from where they were before we digress and go all sorts of direction. So for me, moderator, if you lose someone at work, you must make time for that session, but you cannot stop work because you have lost someone. Then you are not organized. There is no organization. We must be organized because that's how we use time. You cannot use time if you're not organized. The best way to use time is to organize yourself so that you can use time properly. So something has happened as an eventuality. What you need is to sit down again, use as little time as you can to organize for that eventuality and put it in its rightful place. That's number one. Number two, Ariong mentioned a very interesting thing. People might report at work, but they are not working. What they are doing, they are on their phones. Then for that matter, you as an employer, Ariong, you must understand that you have employed the disabled. Structure your workplace in relation to the disabilities of your workers. Am I communicating to anyone?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
What kind
Yes,
of
you are.
workplace are you going to have?
You're going to have a workplace that is tuned and structured against the disabilities of your workers. How? For instance, let me give you an example. This might sound harsh, but some workplaces have where you leave phones. True or false?
True.
True.
Yeah,
Even where you leave your bags.
yeah, that kind of workplace is communicating that they are structuring that workplace against the disabilities of the workers. So you cannot have your boy who is running the machine, a very sensible machine that is making production like 1,000 pieces in 30 minutes. And then the guy on the machine is so experienced that he's running it with his phone in his right hand on social media. Oyo bwati wali oyo kafuula abikola byonna ate ne bivaayo bulungi. Really? So you must structure your workplace because you know that you are dealing with people with disabilities, and then make those. Using time is for the organized. Are you organized to use time? Because if you're not organized to use time, time is going to use you. So that is the whole thing, gentlemen and ladies. We just have to organize ourselves, prepare ourselves. Because every day, God is a very generous being that he gives us time, even when we have nothing to use it for. And it's only those who have organized themselves to use time that are going to be productive in all areas. So until you organize yourself to use time appropriately, you are not going to benefit from time. Time is going to use you. And at a certain point of age, you will be used up. And you'll be craving to have more time that you cannot. So, and I'll give you an example. Elders look at the young and envy them for only one thing, only one single thing.
Time.
Time, because at that point you're saying, I wish I was at this level. And that is why we keep fighting our children. I keep fighting Divine. Every time I fight him, I am telling him, you organize your life earlier so that you don't get at my age when you are still as foolish as I am. That is what I'm always fighting Divine for. His young brothers are too young to understand these things. But I expect him to understand these things this early. So moderator, we have to realize our disabilities, okay? And then pattern our usage of time against these disabilities. You have to know yourself and get to know what you can and what you can't, your weaknesses. And because you know those weaknesses, You know you can't work with your phone on the table. Can you? Answer, no. Switch off your phone. For those working hours, make it a routine. So, moderator, this is why I am actually following the wisdom of the Bible. There is time for everything. They're discussing usage. But you cannot have one time for everything. Did you hear that?
One time where you do everything.
Thank you very much. You cannot have only 1 hour for everything. You have 1 hour, you have to talk to your mother. In that same hour, you have to work. In that same hour, you have to talk to your wife. In that same hour, you have to update your social media handles. In that same hour, you have to eat. You are an abuser of time. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you. Petero, are you back? Settled in as well?
Hey, I'm here using time to eat.
You're abusing time because it is now time for Zoom.
You
Abusing
actually
time.
abusing time.
By the way, let's actually talk a little bit about that. People who are fond of multitasking in order to buy time, you can put quote unquote here. Talk about multitasking, Peter. In an attempt to reclaim time or to free up time later. I can cook while I wash, then I do this. Talk about that.
I doubt whether multitasking is a reality. I mean, I don't know whether we are created, we have been designed or created to do more than one thing at a time. I doubt. I think that we can only do one thing at a time. You're either washing clothes or watching a soap, or you're watching a soap and not and not washing clothes. So I doubt whether that is possible.
Okay. Let's talk about again in usage of time. This culture, Ugandan culture, typically there's nothing that starts on time. Even when we plan and allocate time, the wedding reception will start at 4 p.m. The church service will start at 10 a.m. And things like that. Nothing ever starts on time. I guess it's because of what you explained earlier. But in this kind of scenario, really, how can we do anything? In a situation where our understanding of time is totally different. We understand it in terms of seasons and events, like you said. How can you get anything done?
Hello, is it still me on the floor?
Yes, still you, Peter.
Okay.
Because your mic is on.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it should start with change of ideology. I wonder if we need to, because to most of us, or to our cultures here, when a certain event has been slated for a certain time, where time we mean the hours or the minutes, I don't know why in our minds we have the whole day. For example, if you say the matrimonial ceremony will start, or the exchange of vows will be at 10 a.m., in the minds of your audience, they don't see or they don't hear 10 a.m. To them, they have the whole day. Vows are for the whole day, and the banquet or the wedding is for the whole day. So it is about, I think, the ideology of time, or the concept of time. It is, and until that changes, it is not easy. It is not easy for that to change. Probably when we re-educate our students or re-educate our citizens, For example, in school, even when school, because all of us here, we know that school operates on time. There is time for English, time for mathematics, there is time for break, time for lunch, time for chapel, time for sleep. Immediately we leave school, we degenerate, or we degenerate into our social cultural milieu. I don't know how that would work, but I think we need a way of creating a counterculture towards that. For example, if you say that we are starting at 9 and ending at 10, the person responsible to start should start, and by 10, they should stop, whether with or without people. Probably that.
And then you come at 9:58 and you want to disagree with whatever has been said.
So I think we need to go radical. Yeah, I think we need to go radical. One time, I think a month ago or two, I was at a certain theater. The surgeon gave an appointment to the patient, and the patient was already there in time. The surgeon did not turn up, neither did he communicate that they would delay. So if a surgeon, a whole surgeon could flout on the idea of time or the principle of time, then you can tell how the magnitude of our failure.
Okay, Peter, thank you. Thank you. Let me go back to Peterson. Time is one of the issues the lady raised, how we spend our time. And as we have learned, how we use our time, okay? Now, besides attending, Peterson, I'm back to you. Besides attending these barriers, spending our time there, we also heavily contribute to these things. Barriers, just for example, but I mean, any sort of social function, weddings, any social cause, and so on and so forth. So the economic impact is not just on the time we spend there, but even our own, because we don't just go, we go with our money and spend it there. And in her opinion, she feels that money is going into things which are not productive for the economy. Probably that's why she's saying we lose money. So this we can combine with black tax, as I think we've discussed black tax here before. You know, you have to support your family, your siblings, your whatever. So she feels like those types of things are detrimental to the economy. Do you agree?
Now, actually, I think maybe that lady has stayed out of this country for some time because she's maybe a bit detached. The thing I would want to disagree with is where people think that other people's cultures are superior, and that is what was supposed to follow. Because the question is, when we talk about contributing for weddings, all of us here contribute. But what percentage of your income do you contribute towards these social activities? Even in church activities where we have a rule that you are supposed to contribute 10%, we don't. Now, these social activities, some people even contribute 1%. Now, just imagine condolences. I think the biggest condolences that we give is like 100,000, but usually condolences are 2010. Now, what's wrong with giving a 10,000 for a condolence? And then someone writes about it that it is impacting on the economy.
Maybe not. The problem is not necessarily the 10K. I think her challenge was if Peterson loses somebody, we all show up, contribute money and all that. But if Peterson wants to start a business, Park Hardware, and he comes and says, "Give me that 17K," we don't contribute it. I think that's the argument she was making. It's still a social cause in a way, but somehow the other one is more important than this one.
Aha. So I think we're going to get there. Right now, the contributions that that have been embroidered in our culture are such social gatherings, weddings, funerals. It's where we come up in big masses and contribute. And we hope that with this unity that we're in, people will be contributing towards projects, because what I know is that people who have really good friends, they have supported them in their investments or in their hustles, and here people really come out and lend out money, even interest free, to support each other like in families. Now, the one on the other side, why is the question is why should we contribute a lot of money for a wedding or a funeral service, and then we don't
But not
contribute
a
money?
school in the community, for example.
But now, because people have not come out to, the culture has not picked that up. The things that we think are supposed to be contributed for are such things like the ones that we have talked about. But I think when we continue building this culture of togetherness, one day someone will put you in a group where he's launching his company and he needs capital, and then people will contribute. Though the only challenge about that side of contributing for business is that, whereas for a wedding you contribute knowing that this is supposed to be consumed on that day, you're contributing for the food, the drinks, the venue, the fun that you're going to have. Here, the question would be, if I'm contributing in Jet's company, what is the benefit? Is he going to give me shares in his company, the money that I contribute in it? The same thing when you contribute for a funeral, you know that you need to eat, you need to what, you need to support your brother, he needs to spend money. So you're doing that because that money is going towards an expense. And on the side of business, this person, in case the business takes off and it becomes successful, what is he going to give back to me? So
It's going to leave us behind. So
okay, there's also that. But I think if that culture is built, that people are called to contribute towards the other people's households, people will contribute, and maybe they're promised shares. About the social services, let's say contributing maybe for a road or for what, I think people try, though not on a large scale, because if you look at like building a church, you would probably think that maybe that is one of items where people come in. See, the other time the SDAs were building a hospital. There, I don't know where it has reached, but at least,
by the way.
hey, but they contributed a lot of money and they built a 5-story building, very big. So I think the lady, when I saw that she teaches at London School of Economics. I think maybe that's where she works. So she's now getting into that culture of the Europeans. Those guys are very selfish people. You're on your own. They're very capitalistic in nature. You're on your own. You don't share, you don't do what. So she wants to bring her mentality even on us.
Edson, thank you. Edson is fighting. He's not going to allow colonialism.
And I really agree with Peterson by that, because
You continue from where he has stopped.
and you need to understand where we are coming from, me and Peterson. First of all, where we come from in the West, we are very social. Number one. Number two, me and Peterson, we share the socialist school of thought. So we are socialists. We don't believe in this capitalism thing. I really understand that. But moderator, if you will allow, can I demonstrate the actual problem?
Yes, please.
Now, what we need to understand is this, because that economist looked at our social activities and social efforts and contributions as a detriment to our economic growth, right?
Yes, that was what the point she was making.
Yeah, and yes, she's right, because her argument is that we are spending, we are not earning.
Spending on the wrong thing as well.
We are okay. Oh, she also
Because
argues
they
that
are wrong things.
yes. Now on that matter, I disagree with her. We are not spending on the wrong things. Human sociology is worth more what we are spending on it.
Expound.
Let me expound. How much can you pay to be a friend to someone?
There's no price.
And how much can you pay for people to stay with you throughout the night there if you lost someone? How much can you pay them? Leaving their homes to come and stay with you.
There's no price for that.
So how much can you pay for someone to give you contribution towards your wedding and then come and spend 16 hours on your wedding while working? How much can you pay for that? Because I want that lady who comes from London or from that Western perspective to tell us how much they pay for the funeral service and the funeral homes.
No, you know, for us, we invite you for the funeral. If you're not invited, you don't come.
Now,
For the wedding, if you're not invited, you don't come.
that is why most of you, where you come from in your world, are dying in the houses alone. They are not happy. Westerners are not happy. Let us be honest and direct. People from the West are not happy. They have everything they want: good roads, good hospitals, good medical care, good education system, good everything, but they are not happy. Why? Because they have not invested their resources and their time in being human beings and being with others. Okay?
They've not invested time in being human beings.
They have not. They have not invested in being human beings. They haven't. So what we are doing here in Africa, we are investing in being human beings. That is the cost of being a human being. The cost of being a human being is being there for your brother, your sister, when they need you. And that's why we are investing so much in these weddings. We're investing so much in these funeral services. That's why we are doing that. But there was the other flip coin, moderator, where we are challenged that how come we don't invest the money we invest in weddings? How come we don't, when it comes to building a school around here, we don't do it?
Huh?
Now, in critical thinking, this is how you go about it. The argument is not that what we are doing is wrong. No, the argument is in our understanding of a problem. For example, let me break it down for myself because I'm a slow learner. For example, when there's a wedding, we invest our money into it. When there is a funeral, we are quick to invest our money and our time into that. But when someone wants to start a business, okay, we are slow and stingy in helping them start up. We are slow and stingy. We normally send them to their relatives to go and do that. Now, there are two reasons for that. Number one, in our social fabric, okay, we do not give economic handouts for development. That is not our ideology of development.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys understand?
Following.
The African ideology of development, we don't believe in handouts. No, what makes you a man in Africa is starting yourself up. And in our ideology, you are not competing with anyone. Every house that has been built by yourself and you alone is respected and honored. The Baganda say akezimbira.
Akezimbira.
They don't, the Baganda do not mind the quality of the house. No, it is kuzimba. It is a Western mindset that despises the kuzimba by what has been built. That is not us. So this idea of how comes when someone wants a business, we don't fundraise for that person, because the idea of go to the bank and get a loan is not us. For us in Africa, you start from where you are. You start as you are. And you are content with what you have started. But capitalism brought this whole idea of what you have started is not good. You go and steal. You get. That is not us. Number one. Number two, the second reason. It is our definition of a problem. Tailored on our values. Here is the thing. Someone not having a job. First of all, where we come from, it is impossible for someone not to have a job. This whole idea of Isaiah does not have a job is of this world. Not our world. Because how can someone not have a job when they have where they stay? You have a job from where you stay. But in capitalism, there are these jobs. Fine. Now, we expect you to go and find a job. We don't expect anyone to find a job for you. That is the corruption of your capitalism. Akezimbira, that was in the other point. But I was trying to now to make point two. Point two, our definition of a problem. We look at being unmarried as a problem, losing someone as a problem. That is our understanding of real problems. Not having a job, okay, is not a problem. Starting a school is not a problem. Therefore, we cannot fundraise for what is not problematic. The only thing that you should teach us, you the Westerners and the educated, you should teach us that a problem is not only when you've lost someone or when someone has lost their wife, and therefore we have to fundraise for that because it is a problem. A problem also is when someone cannot feed their wife because they don't have where to get the resources. A problem also is having a community without a school. That also is a problem that we need to gather around. So basically, moderator, the reason as to why we do not fundraise for schools, fundraise for why, it is because of our definition of a problem. Now, I wish I had time to give you the wisdom of the Bible, because I heard you mention it. One of the reasons why believers in God are asked to tithe, okay, it is because the tithe is not for the pastor alone. The tithe also that you give to your pastor or to your priest or whoever it is must be also accountable for the social problems. So the pastors who were tithed to built schools of prophets because they were tithed to. The pastors who were tithed to fed the hungry because they were tithed to. The pastors who were tithed to housed the homeless because they were tithed to. That is what the tithe does. It addresses the social problems. The tithe is not for the pastor to be rich and wealthy and fly a private jet and drive 7 cars. No, that's not what the tithe does. The tithe sustains the pastor so that the pastor can sustain the community. That is the whole thing. That's the wisdom of the Bible. So gentlemen, you should stop tithing to institutions unless if they are doing social work. And you should stop tithing to these pastors unless if they are doing social work. That is the whole thing. But anyway, maybe that will be for another day. I keep on bringing that all the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, obviously, that was in response to something I read on Twitter today, where someone was saying, imagine if we all tithe 10%, even call it 15% of our income into our communities. Basically, how would our communities look like? Would probably have schools, would have banks, would have hospitals and things like that. Social services that we've done by ourselves. But that is, I guess, another topic for another day. But yeah, so Tom, the other issue that I already raised, of course, we've talked about the time, how we spend the time. We've talked about even the financial cost of how we spend that time, because when you're spending time in a place, you take your money as well, burials, weddings and things. But then she talked about communication as well as another problem. People, because of the poor time management, people are never at their desks. You go into a government office, there's nobody. Or they say, oh, he has stepped out, he's coming back. You go to see a doctor in a hospital, oh, doctor is coming at 8. It's 11 a.m., it's midday. He hasn't showed up, no communication. Peter just gave us an example of that surgeon. Basically our communication, of course, I'm using the word communication very loosely here. I know Peter will fault me, but our communication culture is also poor. What do you have to say, Tom, about how we communicate? Even if it's something as simple as, oh, I'm running late, I'll be 20 minutes late. Oh, I'm 2 hours behind, I'll be there. Things like that.
I think we take things for granted. We expect those we are dealing with to be that understanding that we are this lazy. It is very sad that we are culprits of that. It is very sad, but I think she has a point, because you are expected at your office at, let's say, 8 o'clock. You very well know that you have a patient to take to hospital first, so you'll be late, you'll be there by 9, but you are not communicating such that somebody covers up for you. I think it is very, very absurd. We are that lazy, but we take others and things for granted. I don't have much more than that, moderator.
Okay. Peter, are you still there? So in addition to spending our time at these social functions and our money, we don't even communicate with the people responsible in our lives. My wife runs a bakery here. It's home-based. And one of the challenges about a home-based business is somehow people will never take it as seriously as you want it. They'll not take it as a real workplace, real quote unquote. So there, the company culture can be a bit, as you can imagine, it can be a bit unserious sometimes. But one of the things she insists on is timekeeping. 8:30, you should be here, rain or shine. If you're going to be late, send me an SMS, tell me or call me and tell me, you know what, I'm running late, I have this errand to run, or I have this, And people who have been with her for 4 years, 3 years, they find it really hard. Sometimes they're actually offended when she tells them, you know what, you should have communicated. I don't fault you for having a sick child. I don't fault you for waking up and you're not feeling well, but why can't you just tell me that? Is it too much to ask? Things like that. Peter probably moved away. Nansha, are you there?
I'm now on the move.
You're using time poorly. Poor time usage.
I'm here.
Okay, my mother, have you been following the discussion?
Yes, I have.
We talk about our culture of communication in Uganda. Possible
Our
impact
culture of communicating.
on the economy here, because we are discussing somebody's article about some of these issues, but she was arguing that it actually impacts the economy in a big way, bigger than we probably think. What do you think about that? We're now on communication.
She was arguing
about
that what?
time. Nanja. Ogenda kunzima nyati. Toko ulirize kale. Isaiah, let's talk about communication. In addition to spending our time, not using our time properly, and spending our time in that, we don't even communicate. Third problem.
Now that is also part of the broken culture, which we actually need to enforce. Which we just need to enforce. And like I said earlier, you have to understand your disabilities and the disabilities of those that you are working with. For instance, first of all, we should stop nurturing the culture that a workplace cannot be at home. Yes, we should kill that ideology that just because a workspace is at home, therefore it is not respected just because it is at home. No, respect must be commanded, and it must be trained, and that attitude of treating that home workspace as a workspace like that outside the home should be equal, one and the same actually. But that is something that you need to train your workers. How do you train them? By putting ultimatums, rules that should be followed, punishments for that. Then gradually people will start addressing that whole thing. Number one. Number two, we should stop being too careful not to annoy others.
Come again?
We should stop the tendency of not annoying people, because that is how things die. That is even how communication dies. Okay? So the fear,
on that.
the fear of not telling Isaiah that you are wrong is abusing Isaiah himself, because he will never know that he is wrong. We must understand that telling people that they are wrong is communication. It is communication. Unless if you're politicizing, then you have to be politically correct. But this is a work environment. You don't have to be political on anything. And depending on your goal, because communication also has goals and orientations. What is your goal? What do you want to communicate? What are you going to lose in this communication? So that lack of communication also is abuse of the workspace. For instance, I was talking to Aryong. Aryong was in China when he has gone there, I think once. The other time he was in another country. But Aryong will tell you, and the good thing is on this call, almost 70% of China companies are at home. Does that change the work ethic of Chinese?
I doubt.
It doesn't. It doesn't, because at home there is where you sleep, there is where you sit, then there is where you work from. So why are people sitting in a workspace just because it is within the compound of the home where people stay? It is just a culture, and cultures are cultivated. So you cultivate a culture of working. You have to cultivate that culture that people will even forget that they are at home. They will forget that. Now, unfortunately, my generation is not on this call, perhaps, apart from Tom. Okay, maybe, I don't know. The others will speak for themselves.
For whatever.
So, you remember, You remember those days when you had to wake up and go to the farm, and
Yeah.
everyone, our parents measured how long or how big we are going to dig. The Baganda call it Olubimbi. And the rules were very simple. Whoever finishes their Lubimbi, they are free to go home. And some people were left in the garden because they had not finished their Lubimbi. If you had a friend who had finished their Lubimbi, they could come and help you with your Lubimbi, but you couldn't go home until it is finished. But that Lubimbi was part of the home. So how come we are working at home and no, you had to fetch water and fill that drum, and it was at home without pay? How come we are ardent and working while at our home, and workers whom we are paying are careless and reluctant to work? And one of the reasons that this is not a company, it is something at one's home. You just have to cultivate that culture in those people and save time.
About the timekeeping as well. Rather the communication. So
Yes.
people don't communicate,
It is because when they don't communicate and come, you let them stay. You don't punish them for not communicating. You think that talking to them will make them understand. These are people with disabilities.
PWDs.
Yes, these are PWDs. You chase them, fire them, find them. They will start communicating.
About it in the general context as well, workplaces, meetings, someone is running late, they don't communicate, just the general, again, poor communication culture.
It has been that poor communication culture has been nurtured. You understand, moderator? So you have to denurture these workers, the generation. You have to denurture it and then nurture it into communication. But how you do that? You do that by breaking those walls. These walls have been built. You just have to break them. You can't just paint them and assume that they will change. You be hard on them. If you can't communicate, you didn't communicate, you go back. We didn't know that you had a sick child. Please go back, and you're not going to be paid for this day. As simple as that. That is all. Poor communication. You see, let me tell you. Okay, let me ask you. If you are hungry, okay, and you don't ask for food, do you get satisfied? How come nature is not is not babysitting us, and we are babysitting our fellow workers? Let people pay fines for not communicating. Let people be suspended for not communicating. Not just a simple thing like you didn't call. A simple thing. Okay, we call it a simple thing, but it's not simple. Not communicating is not simple. Because I can tell you, you can be at the workspace and you bake things anticipating someone that they are going to come. And they don't come, and you lose what you have baked. Because you thought that they were coming, and they didn't tell you they were not coming. So who's going to pay for that loss? The complaint that why don't you complain? Why don't you communicate? You employers here, Jethro and Ariong, you be serious. Because the product will die anyway. You will forgive your worker, but the product will die. Okay, you will forgive your worker, but the business won't forgive you. So why are you exercising forgiveness within unforgiveness? Thank you.
Where Shonan and I go to school, they're supposed to be there by 7:45. If you come at 7:46, you'll find the gate locked. Even the car will not be there. You will take your child back home. The principal's phone will be off. The administrator's phone will be off. I'm just trying to talk about timekeeping. Anyway, Benson, are you still there?
Yes.
Our culture of poor communication, especially in government. You know how government operates. You talk about that. And it's actually very normal. Government officers. Oh, someone with the keys has gone. Oh, where has he gone? He was here 2 minutes ago. You know that kind of thing. Doesn't that foster us really economically?
Yeah. Now, on the government side, the whole problem is with the civil service. And I remember there's a time when you shared some article some time back. The guy who used to work with was it Radio Uganda or UTV? In the Obote's time, Now, you see, ever since I think it started with Amin, during Amin's time. Because why I'm doing this is because the issue with civil service is not just on time management, but somehow civil service has declined in terms of what they're supposed to do and in terms of the pay.
They are not serving, basically. They are not serving.
But also in terms of the pay. Now, a doctor in Morago, who is very qualified, because some of these guys are the best brains that we have in the country. You find that he's being paid 4 million. Now, what this guy ends up doing, he opens up his clinic and he allocates time. So you find that he has to treat in Morago, then he also has to operate his clinic because he's getting more money from his small clinic. Now that comes back to the decay of the civil service, because assuming this guy was paid very well, probably will not be moonlighting.
What is very well paid?
That's a satisfactory pay, because you see, the reason why these guys are moonlighting and taking on other jobs. Some are teaching, some are operating private businesses, some are operating farms, is because of the pay. You people, an undersecretary in a government is paid 1.8 million. When you remove taxes, he stays with 1.2 million. A commissioner, the same amount. I think permanent secretaries are the ones who are earning 16 million. And of course, when you talk about these salary rates, someone will be like, but those are the same people who benefit from other things. And that is actually not guaranteed, and that's not even for everyone. Not everyone in government actually is corrupt. Of recent, I was very happy when they increased the salaries of these science teachers. So what I'm trying to say is that the pay of these people has affected service delivery in the entire public service.
Does the pay also affect communication? So when you're going to your clinic, you don't even tell somebody, you know what, I'm going to be out for 3 hours. Whoever is looking for me, I'll be back. So you don't even communicate.
Now, but they communicate. Of course, the people who are very close, they've been knowing that this person will come in at 2, or he will not come in today. So they try and communicate. And on top of that, because the problem starts from the top, even supervision, the commissioner will not apprehend his officer for coming late or for not coming. because the commission understands that this officer has to go and look for survival. So the reporting lines, supervision, and the whole entire system is just broken because of that. The output becomes poor. The people are not at work to work. They are just chasing for survival and deals. So if people were being paid well, because me, I will tell you that this does not have anything to do with time. In private sector, people are paid well, they are supervised well, and they are supposed to deliver, because there's no way you can run out from it. Now, because of government, because of those issues, that's why there's no supervision, people are not working, and the reason being people are being paid little money. Yeah.
Thank you, Petron. But also in the private sector, by the way, people are still doing side hustles. Someone is in office, but he has clothes in the car. He's telling people, Jangu, so he's walking out of office every 20 minutes. I have dresses, you come and see. Don't you guys experience those things at your workplaces? So for me, I don't think it's just a government problem. And if you say people in the private sector paid well, yes, but they still do these things. Someone at lunchtime, when I was working in Umeme, my office was right in the middle of town. I can tell you, it was so easy to leave office and even go downtown, and there was actually a lady who was running a clothes business in office. So she would bring men's things, socks, shirts. So she would bring them, tells you to try them on. Then when it doesn't fit, says, you give me 2 hours, I'll be back. Then she runs downtown, picks the right size, comes back. Really. Anyway, Isaiah, we have a few minutes left. I want us to go into the counterculture. Of course, we've been mentioning bits and pieces of it, but basically, what can we do? How do we move forward? Knowing what we know now, that some things are a problem, but also knowing that some things are just imported problems from the West, from capitalism. But even within our own cultures and sociologies, how do we actually move forward? How can we do better? How can we be better? I want us to focus on that for the remaining few minutes. What do you have to say?
I think what we need to do.
In terms of time, in terms of communication, in terms of even where and how we spend our money.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Time, communication, and money. In terms of time, I think what we need to do is to understand that we should mind how we use our time. It doesn't matter that you've spent the whole day and it is now evening. You should, let me go the biblical way, and I'm sorry for those who are offended. But in Genesis chapter 1, there is, and it was day and it was evening. That was the first day. There's that sequence, But the interesting thing in that sequence is that when evening and day is not mentioned until there is an activity. So for you to consider this a day, it should be in relation to what you have done.
How you have used the time.
Yes, how have you used the time? What have you done today? So to call it a day. You are not qualified to call it a day unless you've done something to show. Because in those 7 days, that mythology of Genesis chapter 1, God has something to say before a day is qualified as one. So really, how we use time, not using time is the greatest abuse to time. Then as far as communication is concerned, we have to communicate. And this is what kills communication. Okay? People don't believe when you communicate. This is why we don't communicate.
What do you mean they don't believe?
If you are my boss and I tell you that my child is sick, you are going to tell me you are lying.
Because sometimes you're actually lying.
And of course, sometimes I'm actually lying, but it is not in your position to remind me or tell me what I know. Do you understand the psychology? Or that is too complex?
Tell me what I know.
I know I am lying. What I want from you as my boss, okay, is to accept what I'm telling you. Now, that will help me always communicate. Now, your role as my boss, is to master the art of the psychology of managing me with my lies and my continuous excuses. But you have to give me that reception that I can communicate to you without my job being threatened. Communication does not die from the point of the communicator. No, communication is shaped and dies or thrives on the side of the receiver, the recipient. The reception that you give people will make them either communicate or not communicate. So that is how you nurture communication among people. And I'll leave that at that. Now, finally.
As an employer, you tell me your child is sick. I know you are lying, but I accept your lie.
Yes.
And then I see how to manage.
And then when she comes the next day, then you talk about the lie in parables. But you gave her a good reception when she was telling the lie. That's the whole thing. Then the other thing is, with the greed, there is no enough salary, there is no enough money, and there is no sufficient job. With the greed in place. And what cultivates our greed is our expenses, our expenditure. So if you want your salary to be enough and your profits to be enough, manage the expenditure. And I think that will be a topic for another day. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you very much. Tom, parting shot? Especially in terms of where we go
not anything useful now.
Peter, are you still there or you're still abusing time?
Hello?
No response. Oh, he's here. Okay. Yeah, closing. What are your parting shots?
Yeah, I think we are talking about the bit of communication. We also need to nurture the culture of listening, the listening culture. And listening entails a lot, but I'll leave it at that, that we need to, hearing is natural, listening is intentional. We need to choose to listen.
That's important. We'll probably come back and talk about this. Rutembana, parting shots? I know the young ones are all over you.
And me, what I can say is that the argument the lady was trying to make is actually a good one. And it's something that needs to be investigated, most especially around how we use our time and then also the impact of those social activities, what they really have in terms of the economy. So it's a good thing, and we should actually try. And your example that you brought, instead of just contributing for weddings, how about if we start contributing for our hustles, and see how it works out? Probably when
we give out shares and equity. We give out shares and equity to those who have contributed.
Yeah. So at least to be the people to start it.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all we had time for, gentlemen. Thank you. We'll meet again on Monday. God bless you.
Amen.